I keep finding more and more proof that you gamers don't actually care about the content that goes into your game. That you only care about playing the newest thing because it's shiny, and you didn't have it before. This time it comes in the form of a dungeon crawler known as Omega Labyrinth Life. Now, I say that it's a dungeon crawler, but it is not of the first-person variety. In fact, if you've ever played Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, then this style of gameplay will actually be somewhat familiar in appeal. Omega Labyrinth Life was released on Steam in 2019, and it might have been available on the PlayStation Vita before even then, but I haven't confirmed it, so I'm not sure. It's developed by Matrix and published by D3, and you should definitely keep an eye on that publishing name, because we're going to be talking about them a lot in the coming days. They do a lot of good work, and I'm not just talking about Earth Defense Force. But aside from playing like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, this game has what you're looking for, and that is fan service. When I tell you that I was not expecting this game to fan the flames of what it means to do service, just trust me, because this game caught me off all sorts of guard. How do you level up a character? Fan service. How do you upgrade an item in this game? Fan service. Do you want to heal in the middle of a dungeon? That's great. Fan service. But a game can't survive off fan service alone. I know that, and these developers know that. Now, you would be remiss in thinking that this game is easy because of its cutesy anime art style and typical seasonal anime opening music. But let me tell you, this game has a certain type of brutality that, once again, caught me off guard. I haven't been hit this hard by a game since like the PlayStation 2 era of fuck you, do it again, but better. Now, as I was exploring the dungeon, I saw these puddles of water on the ground and was like, huh, that's a neat little detail. But upon walking over them, my character slipped and fell, and a bunch of items came out of my inventory. No harm done. I just got back up and picked the items up. But at some point in time, I had picked up an item called a purse. These are basically little storage items that will allow you to save space in your limited inventory. You can put items inside of another item, and in this case it was 3. I took 3 of my most rare items and put it inside of the purse and was like, oh, this is awesome. Now I can pick up more loot. Unfortunately though, that's where the game was like, I hope you were paying attention. I wasn't. Because I walked over another puddle of water by accident while I was trying to fight a monster and slipped and fell. One of the items that came out of me this time was that purse loaded with items. The purse ripped, and every single one of the items, including the purse itself, was destroyed with no way to be recovered. And I was like, damn. Okay. I was unfamiliar with your game. I wasn't aware that we were taking me back to 2002. I'll do better next time. But that isn't the only instance of this game smacking me across the face and saying that I better get my shit together. I was having a lot of fun chasing these rare monsters. It's like a flying sheep. I feel like I had seen them from something before. A fluffy sheep with like butterfly wings flying around. But I couldn't put my finger on it, but I was chasing it. And I got this weird warning. Something about like the wind picking up in the dungeon, and I was like, whatever. It's a little breezy. Put a coat on or something, I don't know. I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Eris, stop chasing the sheep.
Come back here, you silly little thing. Oh, oh.
This is your last warning.
Is that the Grim Reaper?
No. Jesus Christ.
Oh, you silly bitch!
It was at that moment that I knew I had fallen for this game's trap. It lured me in with some amazing fan service, but this was a very real dungeon crawling experience, and I had been punished for taking its vibrant colors and whimsical story lightly. Speaking of the story, it's about time we get to that. The game takes place at an academy for rich and famous students, the daughters of rich and famous people, politicians, company owners, idols, things of that nature. This particular academy has a fantastic garden. It's what it's famous for. This garden's flowers are in bloom pretty much all year round, and a lot of the students take inspiration from that garden and its beauty. The main character is not from a rich or famous family. She's a transfer student, which has never happened at this academy before. It's her first day, and as she approaches the school, she discovers that there is something mysterious going on. She starts to hear a voice talking to her, and it guides her through a labyrinth that has materialized before her. She decides not to really mention it, as it would kind of make for a very weird first impression, especially considering that it's not something that other people would believe her about. She makes friends with another student who gives her a tour and shows her the garden, and she really likes it. She's getting along just fine. The next day, everyone awakes from their dorm, gets ready to go to their classes, only to discover that the garden has been completely and totally destroyed. All of the flowers are wilted and dead, and that's, again, something that has never happened at this school. But it just so happens to occur after a new student gets here. So naturally, everybody except for one person accuses the protagonist of being responsible somehow. In order to prove her innocence, she vows to find the cause of what destroyed the garden and a way to restore it. That's when another labyrinth materializes. This time, everyone can see it, and it's not just her. A magical fairy comes out and explains that the spirit fairy whose magic is responsible for keeping the garden alive and well is being cut off by something. So they all volunteer to do whatever it takes to get the garden back to its original state. And this facilitates going into the dungeon, defeating monsters, and absorbing that Omega power. The game does a good job of encouraging you to interact with all of its different systems because they play into each other very well. You explore the dungeon, you get items like seeds and water. You take those items to the garden, plant them, water the flowers, and you harvest something called nectar. Nectar is the currency that you use in order to upgrade the individual characters, and that is where the bulk of the best fan service this game has to offer is found. So, you get that nectar, you go, enjoy some fan service, while at the same time enhancing the skills and powers of your characters. Then you take those characters into the dungeon, and you rinse and repeat. The better the garden does, the more currency you get for upgrading your characters. Stronger characters mean tougher dungeons with more rewards, more loot, better garden, rinse, repeat. Now, the process for upgrading the characters is something that, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I could do a good job describing in words. So instead what we're going to do is we're gonna watch that section of gameplay together, and you can see for yourself why, if you're into this sort of thing, this game is definitely for you. Okay, so the mini-game for leveling up your characters begins. It's very similar to something like Monster Monpiece, where you have to basically touch a moving image of the characters. So this is something that you'll see in a lot of fan servicey JRPGs, but it doesn't quite go to the extent that this game does. Now, there's no gauge or bar to show your progress, but to be completely honest, with those sound effects, you really don't need it. Also, the dialogue for the tutorial is wild. Still nothing particularly crazy, you're just touching. Keep in mind, this is not a hentai game. You can stream this on Twitch, by the way. In fact, a couple of people have fairly recently. Yeah, touched. After you get enough points, you can touch her sultry spot. And get her burgeoning blossom for a full bloom break. This single section right here is a combination of words that I never thought I'd ever hear chained together. Now, this is where things got really wild. The chronochrysanthemum. No. You need to go back and hear that, because we just went full Dio. I'm gonna shut up. So yeah, after Dio activates the world though, you get free reign to just touch over for as long as the power is activated. But it doesn't stop there. It gets crazier. He sprays the camera with... No, wait, no. Hold on. She sprays the camera with nectar. Yeah, that's what they call it. They call it nectar. Right? Yeah, it's not what you think it is, YouTube, I promise. Oh no, this type of nectar, these overflowing drops, can be used in the garden, so, you know, you gotta collect as much as you possibly can. Gotta make her spray away. And, just like that, the blooming is over. As you can see here, I got about 3 bottles worth of, stuff. And my result for doing this is a flower-shaped energy wave that causes damage to monsters in the 8 surrounding squares. It doubles in power when I'm at 50% or less HP, which is pretty good. That's pretty powerful for a dungeon crawler like this. So, I hear you say, yeah, fine, that fan service is pretty good, but Eris, I don't play these sorts of games. I want something with a little bit more action, a little bit more hands-on. And I understand that. This type of game is not for everyone. But you're definitely going to want to stay subscribed, because if you are looking for a different type of game with fan service that isn't a hentai game, trust me, I got you covered. Playing through this game has made me remember an entire lost trove of games that have basically all of the things you want as far as character designs and fan servicing mechanics, mixed in with different game modes like turn-based RPGs, tactical strategy games, action games, and even third-person shooters. So if that sort of thing interests you, you're definitely going to want to stick around, because I'm going to cover those games like I probably should have done already. But better late than never, and my editing skills are hopefully going to do it a lot more justice now than they could have in the past. But that's going to do it for me. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you know of any other fan servicey JRPGs or fan service games in general that can be shown here on YouTube or even played on Twitch, please leave a comment below. I hope to see you guys in another video.